in this guy's car, Fabian Coulthard's car, seriously, mate, that takes the cake. That's seriously getting through the chase flat and driving to the 50-metre mark down the bottom of the chase.
Absolutely. It's good on him. Get in and have a bit of fun. But one thing I learned, just he wanted to keep his birthday secret. So don't forget to wish Murph happy birthday. 40 again, I think.
Yeah, he's in here. He's got his race face on. He's thinking about apexes and picking up the... Yeah, have a go at the helmet. It's antique. Now, it's got brand new brake rotors on the front of it, and if you give these things back this weekend and we hear in our coverage that there's something wrong with these cars, it's your fault.
I know. I've been set up again, I swear to God. I'm actually just looking at the track map on the steering wheel, Neil. Yeah. There's 18 corners.
Yes. Plenty of opportunity to get it wrong.
Oh my God, it is a tricky racetrack. We had a bit of fun yesterday with Scotty out there, and I'll tell you, it is not a place that you can just go out and get onto it, because there's too much to do.
The upside is you don't have to carry a passenger today. Scaife's nowhere near you. Nobody's going to touch a handbrake. You should be able to. Yeah, well, we may be able to have a chat to you, but you're looking forward to it in all seriousness. It's a great opportunity. I mean, these cars are peak performance, they're top of the tree, and you're getting an opportunity. You're entrusted with something very special.
Oh, you're 100% right. So I'm very honoured to have the opportunity, and thanks obviously to DJ Team Penske and all the team here for giving us the chance to do this. Both their drivers are away, co-drivers are away doing other things. So how lucky am I?
And you're having a jump in 17 as well, is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. So we'll do a couple of laps in this one, warm it up and give it a check, and give those rotors a bit of a touch, and then jump in 17.
Righto, close your media window and concentrate, brother. Greg Murphy, he's going to be in car number 12 and car number 17. Our racetrack, as you just heard Gregory talking about, is incredibly complex. And 18 turns to negotiate around here and more than 5 kilometres of racetrack. And last year, it proved a real setup puzzle for everybody to be able to understand what to do. 120 k's of racing tomorrow, 200 kilometres of racing on Sunday, and that's the layout, and that's the reason why Greg had the furrowed brow trying to work out how he was going to get around there. Unbelievably complex racetrack. So, big headwind on the run into turn 1 and facing in a general northerly direction down there, and it's a long straight which opens up a passing opportunity into turn 1, and then you wriggle through turn 2 where there's a couple of alternate lines here, a tight right-hander at 3, building pace through 4 and 5, very high speed, just over 200 kilometres an hour, and then into that left-hander at 6 where last year we saw some pretty brave passing opportunities. 7 is a very tricky corner and the cars wind themselves sideways there. They also do the same at 9 and 10, and you start making your way generally back towards the pit lane area. It's got an average speed of just over 160 odd kilometres an hour. The cars are firing up in the background. So this is the additional driver session, as Jess explained before, and this gives us an opportunity to see drivers that we're going to see in the Pertec Enduro Cup later in the year. And look at these speed values that are popping up here. This is a fast racetrack. Now last year, trying to get the Dunlop tyre to work on this track proved to be a real headache. Top speed 270 k's, and so that's something that everybody's going to watch with great interest around here today. That's the view looking back down the front straight. Now, one of the things that we love to do in our coverage of the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship is mix it up in these sessions, and I'm very pleased to be able to say that Chaz Mostert, who would normally be out there in car number 55 for Super Cheap Auto Racing, is out on the racetrack, on deck, on site for a chat with us today. Good morning, mate.
G'day, welcome to tuning in to the Mozzie Report. I'm based here at turn 13. And I'm really ashamed I didn't bring my kite today, because I think it would be successful conditions to have a kite competition.
It's pretty breezy out there at the moment. Congratulations on the recent blip in form. You guys have been looking pretty strong. Well done.
Yeah, thanks. It's been a couple of successful rounds back to back, getting some podiums, but this track's our nemesis track. So I don't know how we're going to go this weekend, but look, I feel like I'm getting the opportunity to come out here and check out the track a little bit quicker than some of the other guys.
You rarely get to do this, really, Chaz, be able to see the cars up close. Do you get any benefit from actually observing?
Well, I just watched the legend Craig Lowndes go around, and I saw some of his lines here at turn 13, and now I know actually what I was doing wrong here last year.
What are your expectations? Do you think in pre-brief you guys have been able to unlock what you think you're going to need here to get things working?
For me, it's 50-50. Obviously, a lot's changed since we were here last year with our cars, but saying that, it's you never know until you put the car on track and feel it out. So looking forward to watching my co-driver James Moffat out there. He's done an awesome job for us through the year in the co-driver sessions. It's helping set the car up, so we'll be leaning on him this weekend as well.
Thanks, Chaz. We'll come back to you and have a bit of a chat, because we're going to take a look at who's out there in the session. Lots of familiar names, and remember that the Pertec Enduro Cup kicks off at the Supercheap Auto Bathurst 1000 in October. It'll be round 1 of 3 of the championship within, and then we'll move on through that series. I'm very much looking forward to it. So Warren Luff, Dean Fiore, Michael Caruso is back, but in a different car this weekend. Bryce Fullwood, Tim Blanchard, Luke Newton, Greg Murphy. That is an anomaly. Ash Walsh, Dale Wood and Stephen Richards is going to join his old friend Frosty. Jonathan Webb, Jack Perkins, Alex Davis and Chris Pither, who's been subbing for Richie Stanaway, who is back this weekend. Richard Muscat, James Smith, Jack Smith, James Moffat, Alex Rullo. Craig Lowndes is out there, as Jess and Mark explained before. We're looking forward to seeing Craig run. And there he is in the Red Bull Holden Racing Team, Holden Commodore. So looking back at 2018, and it was really a Red Bullathon in many respects, because the pole went on 2 occasions to Jamie Whincup, and then Shane Van Gisbergen was the very first winner here in a supercar on Saturday. And interestingly, we saw a great battle with both the Nissans, and ultimately Rick Kelly prevailed over Michael Caruso. And then on Sunday, the pole again to Jamie Whincup, remembering that Jamie got trapped last year when the safety car came out and had to double stack, and that was the reason why he wasn't there. Chaz is down there watching, but I'll finish the point. Whincup, SVG and Reynolds 1, 2 and 3 on Sunday. So it is picking up even more in terms of that breeze out there at the moment, and we'll get an update from Chaz in the not too distant future. Lap record around here, Jamie Whincup a 1:50.5. The quali record, Whincup a 1:48.6. And the practice record, Shane Van Gisbergen a 1:48.7 around here. But the real question for us is the way in which those harder of the 2 Dunlop tyres are going to work around this racetrack, because matching the tyre, getting the temperature spread correct across the tyre and actually getting it to work the way they want it to, getting up around that 80 or 90 degrees across the 280mm tread face, that's the real key. And Mark Scaife knows only too well, if you don't connect those things correctly to the road, MS, you're in a pile of trouble.
Certainly are, Neil. It's a difficult racetrack based on all the things you've just outlined. 4.95 Ks, 18 turns, all the things, but there's a big differential from the wind direction that we're experiencing, and also the amount of sunlight. The amount of UV will make a difference to the bitumen and the grip throughout the course of the day. The other aspect is that, and the big question that everyone in the garages will be asking themselves, is what does the grip level look like year on year versus 2018? What does the 2019 edition of Tail and Bend look like in terms of grip? It's an interesting racetrack, because we just heard from Chaz Mostert, who's going to do the Mostert report for us out there. But it's a place that you have to get the car to the corner very, very accurately. Mid-corner speed's a premium, the flow is a premium. And the way that the drivers attacked this last year, I don't think in the course of all the time that Neil and I have been watching drives at racetracks, I don't think I've seen so many people off the road as we saw last year. There was also a lot of dirt on the racetrack last year, and they've made a big difference. There's Chaz. And that's a great corner. That corner was modelled off the old Sutton's corner at Oran Park. It obviously turns the other way. It turns right rather than left, but it's got a big dip and a braking area and a flow about it that's really important. Not just about lap time, but it actually gives you a little yield as an overtaking opportunity at the next corner. So what will the Mustangs be like around here? Because remember, Fords were ordinary. The Falcon last year was a real question mark. In fact, Scott McLaughlin had his most difficult round of the season last year, and if you cast your mind back to 2018, that battle with Van Gisbergen and McLaughlin in terms of the championship was roughly 40 points. This year in the 2019 edition, it's over 400 points in terms of the championship points. What do you think, Chaz, when you have a look at the cars? Do they look impressive at that little spot?
Well, welcome back to the Mozzie report. But down here at turn 13, I've actually seen 2 cars pretty much go off already. So a bit like last year, as you can see, just on the inside of the curb here, there's a lot of mud, a lot of sand. As soon as one guy takes a little bit too much, it brings it on. And once it gets on these Dunlop harder compound tyres, you're pretty much just skating off the track. So I think it's going to be a tough year. I think again this year, but I think you're going to see a lot of mistakes, qualifying, races. It's going to be an interesting weekend to watch as a punter.
Now, Chaz, you've obviously got the memo about the haircut, because you've tidied yourself up as a TV presenter. Things are really good, but the shave and moustache piece, you didn't see the bottom part of the disclaimer there. got to have a little shave at some stage.
Well, I'm kind of glad that I got the Dirty Sanchez going on at the moment, because this wind coming through here, you know, I had a bit of chat to Crompo. I was trying to work out which wind direction it was coming. I said it was about a southeasterly at about 24 nautical miles. But, you know, I'm really glad that I've got my my top lip cover on here. It's keeping it nice, warm and toasty, and, you know, I'm just glad I got it.
Well done. Well played. So that is actually a nor'easter. It's about 30k. And Jess said before that it does say 13 degrees, but it feels like about 7, so it's a lot colder at the moment. It will get warmer through the course of the day. That was a big moment there, which is just coming up to where Chaz is standing. That was for Anton. So when you run that wide and you get up on top of that sawtooth curb, the grip level goes away. So if you're already sideways and then you make that curb, it tends to make it worse. This is the big run down now. So given that wind direction, just so that you get a reasonable feel for the layout, that's heading roughly north. That's the northern end of the racetrack, and that is basically a big, strong headwind. So that's going to be a deep braking area. Be able to get into there further based on that wind direction. It's young Gregory Murphy. He looks a lot more controlled than he did yesterday. That was very funny. One of the funniest moments we've had in our trackside show was Scott McLaughlin just grabbing the handbrake, and Gregory wasn't really ready for it. Hey, Murph. Scapey.
G'day, Scapey.
How you going?
No handbrake in this one, brother.
Well, that's got to be better.
No passenger. Yeah.
Oh, good. What's it feel like?
Well, I'm still just being a bit of an amateur out here at the moment, just warming up and getting things done. Doing a little bit of work on the brakes there for the boys, and trying to find where these corners go. As Macaulay Jones has a bit of a, oh, it's not Macaulay, whoever's driving with Macaulay, it goes off ahead of me just there. Mate, the amount of corners on this track, I'm confused. I'm about to let the Castrol Nissan go past. But, mate, it flows. God, does this place flow? You need to get some rhythm going around here.
Well, that was Dean Canto, because he's on board with Macca around here. What's your initial impression? Because I know you were playing yesterday in the safety car and you were hurt by your teammate, but the overall flow and the character of the place, a lot of people described it like Phillip Island. Some have said it's a bit like Sydney Motorsport Park. What's your initial impression in comparison?
Yeah, very much. Just where I am now, whatever number corner that was, very Sydney Motorsport Park-esque, isn't it? Yeah. And just the amount of sort of entry corner speed you carry in a lot of places, and the ongoing corners, the length of time you're in the steering is quite phenomenal.
All right, mate, get your head down, enjoy it. So, Neil Crompton's just joined me. That's windy down there now, isn't it?
It is very windy down there, and I reckon one of the upsides of what Greg's decided to do is go somewhere warm. So he's out there having a crack in car number 12 with Fabian Coulthard, doing a bit of brake betting, and he's got himself tangled up there at the moment with Tim Blanchard in the ex-convenience car that Nick Percat is normally driving, different livery for that car this weekend. The real tripwire here, Mark, is that the cars are familiar, but the drivers are not, because many of them we've seen on and off on occasion during the year, but not consistently, and there's been a little bit of movement here and there in who's pairing up, probably a fair bit more in 2019 than we've seen in the recent past. So the fastest is Garth Tander, who came here with a lot of experience and probably no surprise in Shane Van Gisbergen's car. He's done a 51.2. Remember last year, Andre Heimgarten piled into the back of his Gary Rogers Motorsport Holden Commodore. We're on board now with Garth. And I think one of the other things, apart from the headwind that we've been talking about, the opposite applies in the other direction, of course, that one of the things that will be a challenge is also stabilising the cars under brake with that kind of breeze behind them. So the order at the moment is Tander, Moffat, Davison, Wood, Brown, Perkins and Youlden. And the news came through, which has already been discussed on trackside this weekend, about Craig Lowndes extending his relationship with 888 Race Engineering, the Red Bull Holden racing team, for at least another couple of years. So drivers that have got vast experience, like Garth, and in fact many of the people in the field are pretty vastly experienced, are going to be the drivers that we see come to the fore in the Pertec Enduro Cup. So Garth's just done a 51.5. He's about 2.5 tenths slower than his best lap so far. Be curious to see how the tyres trend in this.
Dale Wood is currently 4th in Rick Kelly's Nissan Altima. And that's one of the stories that we haven't really covered off. We spoke about it on trackside last night, but we haven't. And just see Garth run a bit too deep down into turn 6. But the Nissan's had a little aero tweak. And that has slightly moved the centre of pressure to the rear of the car. But they were strong here last year, Crombo, weren't they? Remember on the Saturday, Rick Kelly and Caruso were 2nd and 3rd.
Well, not only that, they were at each other.
Yeah.
They had a pretty vigorous battle. Michael's back out there again this weekend. But remember, in the recent past, he's been driving in the Boost Mobile Holden Commodores for Gary Rogers. He's now in the Monster Energy Falcon that he'll share with Cam Waters. Left-hander bowled a bit of a wide over there at turn 6 before. Here it is on replay. And rather than lock the brake and damage the Dunlop tyre, he's just decided to sit it up a little bit higher. So we've got 4 rookies in the field this weekend because of the wildcard scenario. Remember, Jacobson and Macaulay Jones have not seen this racetrack in the main game before. But Thomas Randall's having a crack, teammate to this man. And Jack Smith's out there again. Chaz, it's all yours, brother.
How you going? Welcome back to the Mozzie Report. But breaking news down here at turn 13. There is a lot of ugly cars out there, I'm telling you. So if you can see here in the brake zone, you see this thick black line. We call that in driver's terms IFL, which in IFL stands for inside front lock. So in our cars, in supercars, we don't have ABS braking like road cars. We have quite heavy cars, and as soon as the inside tyre unloads, it locks up and we just skate off the track. So I've seen a lot of cars down here in this session so far have a lot of trouble, and I'm really glad I'm sitting here and not out there on that IFL.
Indeed. Chaz, just for our viewers at home, and it's a good opportunity to talk a little bit of tech for just a moment, but in your cars, do you use the light system on the steering wheel to help alert to the fact that you've got the bonfire going in the front, or do you use audio or both?
Yeah, look, I wish I had my whiteboard here like Larko to explain a little bit more, but for me, I just use a light system. When I first got into supercars, I used to have the buzzers in the ear, but you know, there was always a lot going on. But generally got a little LED light on the dash, and it's, you know, if it's on the right side, it's the right front tyre, or left side, it's the left front tyre. It's very rare to lock rears in supercars, but some cars out there do.
And we just had a shot in the background of Thomas Randall having a go. He's been doing very well in the Dunlop Super 2 series. Just give us your synopsis of him as a young teammate.
Oh, look, he's definitely a young talent. He's the up-and-comer coming into this series. It's just not a matter of, you know, him getting here. It's just about when. And this weekend will be a good test for him, you know, like talking to his engineer in catering this morning. This year he's only had 8 new sets of tyres in Dunlop series, where this weekend he'll actually get 9 sets. So it'll be a big learning curve for him this weekend. And everyone knows the competition, it goes from development series to main game. So I reckon he's going to have some good on-track battles this weekend, and he'll learn a lot about his racecraft.
Pretty important moment in a driver's career. Do you remember the first time that you rolled out amongst the big guys?
Yeah, I was, I was absolutely packing my dacks.
Technical term. Thank you, mate. Chaz Mostert, we'll go back to you for more of the Mozzie Report a little bit later in the show, or not. 16 and a half minutes remaining. James Moffat's actually gone to the top now. He's done a 1 minute 51 flat, and that's the exit of the final turn, where last year we saw quite a few people step wide on the curb there, Mark.
We did, and I think, and I know Chaz is listening to us, but I think Moffat and Chaz are a very strong combination of combo leading into the endurance races. And remember that when we go to Bathurst, we haven't got a prelude long distance race, so it's going to change the face of that event. We don't have a Sandown precursor. We go straight to Bathurst as our first enduro. A lot of those little mistakes that we saw and have seen in recent years in terms of pit stops and little bits and pieces of driver ergonomics and the stuff that happens as a consequence of your first run in an endurance race, tended to fix a few of the little issues and a few little mistakes that have crept in. They'll come out at Bathurst. So a strong combination like Moffat and Mostert shape up as one of the lead Ford contenders. It's a nice shot, isn't it? So that's that wind direction. So basically the cars are running straight into it.
And while that looks inviting, there's devil in the detail at driving down the right-hand side into turn 1. So that offline area is vast but dirty.
Yes.
So to pass somebody down the inside there, particularly off the start of the race when you're in a do-or-die mode, to be able to get down there, things can rapidly go wrong. I heard at the top of the show when you were talking with Jess, though, just about how magnificent the whole property looks year on year. Last year when we came here, it was really seconds after a monumental construction. now the place looks a bit more settled. There's been continued investment around here, grandstands. And look at this. Breaking news in the Shell V-Power Racing garages. Greg Murphy leaps into car number 17. At least they'll be able to understand him because it's all the same language.
Yeah, that's right. It's a complete New Zealand fest. There's a lot of broing going on down there, I'm sure.
Great opportunity for him. So
it is.
Where did he end up? 16th, not too bad. So he was talking before about being lost out there. He wasn't too lost. He did a 1 minute 52.8. That's a very good effort, and there's quite a range of drivers behind him because we ran around here last year at length in a road car, and the first puzzle is actually trying to understand where you want to be. You begin to learn the pattern pretty quickly, but where do you want the car to be for maximum efficiency to be able to lean on it in all of its dynamic areas, under brakes, leaning on the front tyres through the corners, picking up that throttle at just the right spot. Because it is so complex, if you're a little bit off in your timing or you don't quite have the setup, the stopwatch is really going to punish you here. You'll be miles away.
Yeah, no doubt. A young Thomas Randall is currently 4th, so that's a very good job. So Moffat, Tander, Caruso, Randall, Davison, Wood, Luff, Brown, and Lowndes. That's 9. The 10 is currently Luke Yilden. Bryce Forward, who's been very impressive in the Super 2 series this year. Whoa, off the road. Who are we on with? I think we're on the Techno car, aren't we? Wow, that was sideways before turn 13. That's where Chaz is standing.
Was standing. Jonathan Webb's at the helm of this car at the moment.
Did he get a tap? I mean, because it was sideways in a straight line. What happened then, Chaz? Did you see that?
I'm not going to lie, I was too busy getting some rays down here. Sun's just beautiful.
We'll have a look at the replay. And
so it's sideways, and then about here it goes left into the grass.
He must have looked down and gone for a change of a natty roll bar or something because...
Lost the black stuff. Huh?
So it's had a little moment through the corner, but that's no big deal. And then all of a sudden...
That's Chaz there, right straight ahead.
Catching some rays.
That would have been wild. Yeah, anyway, I had a bad thought that was Greg Murphy, and then I quickly thought of where our new camera is in the...
That wasn't a thought, it was a wish. You're different. You're evil. You're not the Diet Coke of evil. You're actually evil. They're watching in the garage at Shell V-Power Racing. Fabian Coulthard, Scott McLaughlin, who's on a monumental margin in the championship at the moment after our last event at Queensland Raceway. And that was an energised 200 kilometres of racing on the Sunday there, with just over half a second between Scott and his compatriot Shane van Gisbergen in those two teams and cars. Intense battle, and it fell in favour of Scott. So they're watching data. And for all the frivolity and the whole notion of Greg being in the car at the moment, there is a point to it because he is going to be betting things that will be used in the race meeting this weekend. He does have a high level of responsibility, and they will want to know what his thoughts and feelings are, because one of the other things that happens when you're in a team and there's an incumbency in that whole process where you begin to live with little things that creep into the car, whether they be ergonomic or whether it's a harmonic in the car or some other thing. This is Stephen Richards, just had a little wobble prior to that moment, which is actually what set it up in the Irwin Racing Holden Commodore. But you begin to just live with stuff. That was at turn 5. And then someone else gets in the car. Typically when the co-drivers do arrive later in the year, you'd have been through this as a senior driver for many years, and they go, why do you allow that to be, whatever it may be? A light blinking, a vibration, something odd about the pedals and steering wheel, the steering column angle, whatever, or even just dynamic behaviour. It's got a bounce here or it rock and rolls there. Yep. And sometimes just another point of view can be quite valuable in that process.
Totally. So, as you said, there might be a few smiles and a couple of gags going on, but the seriousness of Greg's feedback is really important. Will Brown now comes up. 7 spots. He's driving in Anton Di Pasquale's Penrite Commodore. Andrew?
Anton, you were here last Friday with Brock Feeney in a coaching role in his Super 3 car and did some laps in that. A lot of talk this weekend about what the circuit's going to offer up. Did it give you an insight?
Yeah, 12 months on, I think a lot more grass. I think everything's a bit more wet too, so I don't think it should be as dusty and bad as last year, although that was pretty cool and sort of made good racing. I think we're a bit a bit more clean. As you see now, there's not much dust flying around or anything. So, but maybe as the weekend goes on, we'll see what happens. But so far, so good.
And you made comment before that the circuit was fast last Friday. It looks it again this weekend. That bodes well.
Yeah, so far it looks like every category's gone faster than what they did last year. And these guys are sort of doing faster than what we were doing practice one last year. So the track's sort of probably gone quicker. We'll probably know a bit more, see what the balance is like when we jump in and how much it's come, and then tune it up from there and hopefully go fast.
Thanks, Anton.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
He's a great young operator, and we've got Will Brown's out there in third place at the moment in car number 99, and I just want to wrap things up with our Johnny on the spot reporter down at turn 13 at the moment. Chaz Mustard, are you there?
Yeah, well, welcome back to the Mossy Report. I believe it's my final one, and they've axed me from the show. But look, same old story down here. It probably feels about like 8 degrees now. But I just want to draw your attention over here. Look, in our sport, we're pretty lucky to be supercar drivers and have the support by the fireys and all the volunteers. They're the backbone of our sport, and we couldn't do what we do without these guys. And plus, what also they're good at is giving a big group hug, because it's really cold down here, and we're much better for it. So thanks for having me.
Thanks, Chaz. Have a good run this afternoon. The good news is your car looks very quick, and as always, our sincere thanks to everybody that volunteers their time and expertise to help these race meetings run smoothly from CAM's affiliated car clubs. So Will Brown's gone to the top now on a 1 minute 50.9 from James Moffat and Garth Tander. So this is a little preview to what we're going to see in the Pertec Enduro Cup come Bathurst, the Gold Coast and Sandown. And Mark made a very important point early on that for the first time, Bathurst actually becomes the immediate starting reference point for those enduros. So that puts monumental strain on the co-drivers going into that race.
No doubt. And some of those more experienced operators like the Garth Tanders, James Moffat, Craig Lowndes, even guys like Jack Perkins and Warren Luff, they'll play a very big role in what happens. And a lot of pressure on Alex Premer and Tony D'Alberto joining up with Scott McLaughlin and Fabian Coulthard, as we see Dean Canto now in young Macaulay Jones BJR Commodore. Now Tander's now gone faster. He has now done a 50.32, so that car looks pretty impressive. And we were tantalised by the improved form, the form that the Red Bull Holden Racing team showed at Queensland. Whoa, big slide. You can hear that chatter. The tyre grip very low. He was out of control for about 100 metres.
And this is what the affliction was last year. Tyres sitting up on the road, chattering. And now this is an onboard shot, by the way, of Jonathan Webb, because we were puzzled as to what happened to him on the run down towards turn 13 before. And the suspicion is there's a bit of a vibration, more than a bit of a vibration. So that's actually flutter in the front bumper assembly, which is the front wing. We've seen that. It's very high speed down there now. Peak speed on a great day. Everything in the right direction. It's 270 odd Ks. They won't be achieving that today. But there you go, that's what happened before. I'd suggest that he would have just, for whatever reason, taken his eye off the ball and been trying to look around in the cockpit and then looked up and gone, oh, it's green. And that would have got his attention pretty quickly for Jonathan, who's been very successful in supercars and in GT racing. The truck assist entry this weekend. We're going to see Jack LeBrock later in the day. And we're back in that garage now.
Cars are only doing 220k there when you're in the grass.
Only. Brianna, good morning.
Morning, Crompo. Richie Stanaway, welcome back. It's great to see you back at the racetrack.
Thanks, yeah, it's great to be back. You know, it's been a long wait, so keen to get back out there and, you know, pick up where we left off. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
How are you positioned? How is the neck? How's the body feeling?
Yeah, I'm good now. I did a test last week at Winton just to check that I was okay in the car because I actually thought I would be okay to race at the Winton round that I had to withdraw from until I got halfway through the first practice session. So even though I felt up to it, it was important that I drove last week just to make sure that it was all okay. And yeah, I'm back to 100% now, so that's good.
This must be a bit of a tease for you though. Supercars on track and you're still waiting to get out there.
Yeah, exactly. You know, after all the waiting and now get here and I've got to watch it on TV again. But yeah, no, looking forward to later today and getting stuck into it this weekend.
Fantastic to have you here. Thanks, Richie.
Thank you.
It is awesome to have him back. He's been through all that pain, and there's nothing worse for race drivers than being parked outside your race car. He's had a tough run from that initial burst of immediate success in supercars when he first joined Tickford. He's gone through some ups and downs, and then to have to endure all those races out of the car since Winton earlier in this year. That's been a pretty tough deal. So the order at the moment, the ascendancy's back with Garth Tander. He's done a 1:50.3. He's got just over half a second from Will Brown, James Moffat. Dale Woods actually just jumped up in Rick Kelly's car into 4th position. Craig Lowndes and Evergreen has gone into 5th, and you can almost set your watch by him, can't you? I mean, he just gets back in things. He's been gibbering with you and I for the last 6 months. His demeanour doesn't change, but his innate ability to drive one of these cars very well also doesn't change. So he's back out there and strong. Jack Perkins, Dean Canto, Chris Pither, Michael Caruso, Thomas Randall, well done. A little round of applause for seeing his name in the top 10. And in fact, on the lap that he's on at the moment, he might shape the tree further at the top. He'll be well motivated to do well. You get very few opportunities in this crazy business to make a stand and to be noticed, and you've got to grab those opportunities. This weekend is one of them for Thomas Randall, and when you look through the list of extreme success that he's had en route to this very moment, there's every indication that he'll earn his way quite correctly into the top order.
And if he doesn't make a mistake in the last sector of this lap, he might go to the top. He's done the fastest first and second sectors. So stay on board, because this is going to be an important finish to this lap for this young man, rolling out with some of the heavyweight names of our game, Tander, Lowndes and co. And Randall, at the moment, is on track to go to the top to beat the Garth Tander time of 50.31. What to do, and he does. He's the first into the 49s. A 49.9 for Thomas Randall. Excellent job by that young man, who's in a Tickford prepared Mustang. Car looks great, and he's driving it fantastically.
That's a great moment for him, and his pedigree, as I alluded before, is really impressive in the sport, and for him to be able to stand tall in this session, and think about the demand. So it's not your regular race car. He's never been in a Mustang before. He's out there amongst the elite people that have earned their way into the sport, and he's basically got 30 minutes less the in and out laps and all the rest of it. So in reality, he's got somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes to try and make an impression on a track. I mean, if you said you're going to Winton, you're going to Queensland Raceway, you're going to the places that he's visited before, probably in multiple across a range of different cars, you go, yeah, maybe half a chance. But I think I missed on this point last year, the complexity of this racetrack. So that's an awesome performance. So well done to him.
No doubt. If you said at the start of this session that you were going to put Thomas Randall in the top 10, you would have said really good job. But to consider that he may finish this session at the top of the pops is an extraordinary run. So Thomas Randall, Tander, Will Brown, James Moffat, Craig Lowndes, Dale Wood, Jack Perkins, Dean Canto, Chris Pither, Michael Caruso. Tim Blanchard's on a reasonably good lap. In fact, he's on the fastest first sector now, down in Nick Percat's car, number 8. Greg Murphy's done a good job. He's down in 16th, but he's now popped up to 11th. So Murphy's done a 51.83. In fact, there's going to be a battle. If Murph keeps it up, he might get to Lowndes. Lowndes has done a 51.3. Garth Tander has also done a good job again. We know that he's had experience at this layout.
I just quickly want to cover off this guy because I talked about his credentials, but Australian Formula 4 champion, runner-up in Australian Formula 4. He went to the British Formula 3 Championship. I'm talking about Thomas Randall. Won the BRDC, British Racing Drivers Club Rising Star. He did a bit of testing in a supercar with Nissan a couple of years ago. Toyota Racing Series winner in New Zealand in open wheelers. And then latterly has been doing very well in the Dunlop Super 2 Series, including a most recent win at Queensland Raceway. So that's the pedigree of the 23-year-old as we go back to car number 8. So Tim Blanchard's in that car, sharing it with Nick Percat. So that's a shuffle around going into Bathurst later this year, and Tim's actually come up into 5th position. Saw him as a wild card earlier in the year in Western Australia. So quite a lot of experience in that seat. And one of the things that he does, he's got a battle going there at the moment with Dean Fiore in car number 3. One of the things that he does very well, he's got very, very good, strong credentials at Bathurst. He brings the car home and he's solid and fast there. So that could actually be a really, really strong pairing when we go to the Supercheap Auto Bathurst 1000. Michael Caruso's on a good lap here, by the way, at the moment, down in 14th. So it's Randall, Tander, Brown, Moffat, Davison, remembering that Alex is driving with his brother. Dean Canto just popped up into 3rd position. And here he's car number 6 on screen, Michael Caruso. Now, he's done the best that we've seen in the first sector of the racetrack. He's done a personal best in the second sector, and the way it's trending at the moment, he could give it a shake. Clock has actually gone 0, so the checkered flag is out at the moment. Monster Energy Ford Mustang, Michael Caruso now moving up into position number 2. Only 0.1 of a second behind Thomas Randall. So that also tells us that there's a little bit of a trend there as well, that both cars 6 and 66, Randall and Caruso, Tickford Racing entries. So they'll be pleased inside that garage to know that their cars have rolled out in a reasonable state in readiness for the next 2 practice sessions to come. And then it's Garth Tander, who has already come into the garage. Dean Canto, Will Brown, James Moffat, Alex Davis and Tim Blanchard, Craig Lowndes and Dale Wood. That is the 10. And car number 7 on screen there at the moment. And that's Bryce Fullwood, who will be sharing his car number 21. So Tim Blanchard has just slotted straight into the team, which you would expect him to do. You know, he's a regular feature at race meetings. He keeps track of what's going on the setup sheets. And as I said before, we saw him earlier in the year. And so the really telling next half hour or hour in these garages is going to be, what are the cars like? How are they behaving? What do those tyre temps look like? Is the tyre warming up more and connected to the road? Because that was the great challenge here in 2018. And last year, as I alluded just at the top of the session, it was all about Red Bull here. They had an extraordinary run and opened up very, very strongly coming to this event. And by contrast, it was something of a nightmare for Shell V-Power Racing. So that'll also place more emphasis on the debrief that Greg Murphy's about to give them on cars 12 and 17. Let's get downstairs for an update with Andrew.
We'll start with Scott first. Now, you just said to me, Scotty, the whole point of that was to just run your car and do a systems check. Greg's done a pretty handy job there. It looks like he's done a little bit more than that.
Yep, no, the granddad did all right. No, he did a good job. He certainly was very good. He's obviously done it a couple of times before.
And we have to ask you about that moment that you gave him yesterday where you ripped the handbrake on. He said he was going to get back at you today. Looks like he didn't come through with that.
Nah, I knew he probably wouldn't get me back. He'll get me back another time at some way in an interview or something like that. But look, it's pretty cool to have a hero as one of your good friends. And yeah, it was pretty cool to ride alongside him there.
Certainly was. Hey, Fabian, Greg drove your car to start with. Always tough when you're trying to learn a circuit with 18 corners. He went better in Scotty's car. Does it mean anything with your rocket?
I don't think so. You know, he's never done any laps apart from those Mickey Mouse laps yesterday in the safety car. So, you know, I'm sure he's still getting to grips with it. He'll give us some feedback on both cars, no doubt. And yeah, look, just happy that both cars got a good run in that session.
And he looks like he did give you some good feedback. I noticed straight away the curiosity in me said that the setup patch came out. Is he tuning your car up already for you here?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're going to do a few adjustments on Murph's chat. But
we're putting the real setup in now. We're putting the real setup in now.
Take the travel setup out.
Yeah.
And before I let you two boys go, you've got an upcoming wedding and you had a proposal as well during that break there. Congratulations to both you two guys. Does that mean you're growing up a little bit?
Yeah, he's just got to have some kids now.
Yeah, I'm a couple of years away yet.
Thanks, boys. Thanks very much. Always good to chat to those two guys and great to see Greg Murphy in the car again.
That straightened Scott McLaughlin up in a hurry, didn't it? Let's confirm those results for the additional drivers session to kick things off here for the OTR SuperSprint at the Bend. We're at Tailem Bend. We're about 105 kilometres southeast of the CBD in Adelaide in South Australia for our second visit here, and Thomas Randall has done a mighty job to park his name at the very top of a long and illustrious list of drivers, 24 of them out there. He's done a 1 minute 49.9 in car number 66 for Scandia. Well done in the Tickford Racing entry from Michael Caruso, Garth Tander, Dean Canto, Will Brown, James Moffat, Alex Davison, Tim Blanchard, Craig Lowndes and Dale Wood, the 10. And you can see there on the second page lots of familiar names, including Greg Murphy, who got to drive 2 cars in a very special session, cars 12 and 17, Shell V-Power Racing. Rihanna.
Mark Winterbottom, we give you 3 weeks off and then we make you wait even longer before you get to jump in your car again.
Yeah, it's really strange, these sessions, because you watch your teammate go out there and have some fun, and the first thing you do is look at the timesheet, and unfortunately we didn't have a great run then, but yeah, share the car, and I feel like I've waited long enough, so it's a bit cruel to make us wait till 1:30 now, but it's in safe hands, and hopefully we learned something from that session.
What was the critical process for this session for you guys? It's so important we don't have any more before we hit Bathurst.
Yeah, well, the guys are, unlucky Richo's at Bathurst, kind of like his home track, but the guys get laps. We do a test day between here and Bathurst, but you run through the formalities at test days before Bathurst. Your brake pad changes, your rotor changes, all the formalities. So in terms of driving, you don't get that much of just outright tuning yourself. It's more about getting the fundamentals right for Bathurst. So good hit out then. There's no better time to go out than with all your competition to see where they're at. And it's good. Car straight, all that sort of stuff. A lot of work's been put into this round, and hopefully we can get further up that timesheet.
Might just quickly go grab Richo, the man himself that was in the car. Steve Richards, sorry to grab you there. Give us the rundown on how that session was.
Yeah, okay, just laps. Get a good gauge for how the car's feeling. I mean, this is really the first co-driver session we've had that hasn't been wet, or we haven't had an issue. So just good to make sure the insert's working and the in-car environment feels good. So no, it was good, no problem.
Thanks, Richo.
Thanks.
GT, I saw you just debriefing here with the 888 Red Bull guys, and you were very animated in your chat and your discussion or your dance moves there, given how fast you look.
It's not dancing. Yeah, look, I made a couple of changes. Every time I jump in the car's different because they're obviously developing the car, and there's some changes in the car. We made a change mid-session, and the car really came to life. It was fantastic. So just sort of explaining it, use a bit of hand movement, a bit of language, and all the rest of it. So happy with the car. It was good.
You ran here last year as a full-time driver. You're now back here as a co-driver. What was your read on the circuit 12 months on? It looks in much better condition than what we saw here last year.
I think the time I did then was only 2 or 3 tenths slower than what I qualified at last year. So track is faster. We were here with the GT cars a couple of months ago, and the track was pretty quick. So look, it's track's evolving as you'd expect. Brand new facility, 12 months on. I'd expect that the track will get faster as the weekend goes on. I actually think the track evolved through that session with Dunlop rubber going down. So I think as the weekend goes on, it's going to get faster again. I think Sunday morning quali is going to be pretty cool.
And how important is this session with somebody like you and your experience to be able to just set the tone for Shane for the rest of the weekend?
Yeah, we were joking before the session. I said, "What do you want me to do out there, Chief?" And he just said, "Make it fast." So look, we probably Craig and I probably do some development work in that session that you probably wouldn't do in a regular practice session, because if it doesn't go right, it's only the co-driver session, doesn't really matter. So we take that development role on a little bit. So that's good for us. I mean, whether the team continues to use that for the rest of the weekend, that's what we'll work out now.
Strong start. Thanks, Gal.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Jonathan Webb, I think this is the first dry session you co-drivers have had. Finally, you get some good running.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't done much at all this year, so I thought I'd roll out of Winton, try and get a few miles, which is a waste of time. But no, it was good. I was here in an Aussie race car last year, so it's a little bit different, but still got a vague idea which way the corners went. So no, I really enjoyed it, getting back in the car, having a bit of fun, getting a bit of a sweat up. So it was a good first day up.
Now, I don't know, lucky or unlucky for us, but we were riding on board with you when you had a bit of a wild moment.
Yeah.
Talk us through that one.
That's what I said to the boys after I went through all that and gathered it back up. I said I definitely found out I can't do two things at once. So I was looking down, playing with bars and a few other things, looked up and realised I'd run out of roads. So I'll steer clear of that one next time.
You can't get away with anything in our game.
No, exactly right. And of course, always, the camera's hardly on us. The one time I make a mistake, it's looking right at me. But it's all fun and games.
Sorry about that. Thanks, Jono.
You're right. Thanks.